You're going to Rome for the very first time and you don't even know where to start. From booking flights, finding accommodations, figuring out how to get around, and even planning what to wear, it can get overwhelming really fast. But don't worry, in this video I'm going to break everything down, and I'm also going to share a few tips I wish I knew before going to Rome for the very first time so you don't make the same mistakes so many tourists make. We're gonna cover best times to visit Rome, how to find affordable flights and accommodations, how to get around, the best things to do, how to find good places to eat, and how to avoid tourist traps. But let's start with the best times to visit Rome. This answer might be a little bit biased. I went to Rome in early December of last year and I absolutely loved it. The weather was perfect, it was chilly but not too cold. There were fewer crowds and we got to experience the Christmas season, which was one of my favorite parts of my trip. However, spring and fall are considered some of the best times to visit Rome. Between April and June, you get mild weather, blooming flowers, long daylight hours, and fewer crowds than during the summer. Between late September and early November, you get warm but comfortable weather, thinned out crowds, and often lower prices on flights and hotels. Now, let's go over flights and accommodations. Flights to Rome are most affordable when you book 2 to 4 months in advance at least. Something I do before I go on a trip is research when is the most affordable time to go to the place that I'm planning to go to. For example, Rome. I do a quick Google search and say something like, when is the most affordable time to visit Rome? And based on that answer, I do my research to find the best deals on flights. I use Google Flights for most of my flights because you can see the cost of the flights you want to get year round. All you have to do is search Google Flights, click on the link, put in your home airport, and also put in your destination. You'll also need to add the number of people traveling with you. Here you can see what it would cost to go in the middle of the summer as opposed to going in the fall, for example. A tip that can help you get the best deals on flights is to fly midweek, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. You can also use Google Flights to track prices and set alerts. Keep in mind that prices change every single day, so the price that you see today might not be the same to the one you see tomorrow or the day after. Same for accommodations. Once I know the dates of my flights, I'll go on the Airbnb app and find an Airbnb for my trip. The reason why I like to get Airbnbs is because you often have more space and you can even wash clothes if you need to. I travel with my 4-year-old, so this is a big deal for us. But if you'd rather stay at a hotel, you can use websites like Expedia or Hotel.com. One thing I do suggest is to stay central. Try to book accommodations in neighborhoods like Monti, Trastevere, or the Centro Storico. You'll be walking distance from major sites and attractions, which will save you time and money. When you get to Rome, you'll fly into the Fiumicino Airport, also known as FCO, which is about 45 minutes away from the city center. Which takes me to my next topic, which is how do you get around Rome? In a general sense, your best option is just to walk. Believe it or not, Rome is best experienced on foot. You'll stumble upon charming piazzas, hidden fountains, and gelato shops you wouldn't find otherwise. However, there will be times when you need actual transportation, for example, like from the airport to your Airbnb or hotel. And for that, you have several options. The most popular way of transportation in Rome is using the metro. In the airport, they have a train station inside the airport complex, which offers connections to the city center and other parts of Rome. It's called the Leonardo Express. Rome has 3 metro lines. A is orange, B is blue, and C is green. It's fast, cheap, and useful for covering long distances. Tickets cost 1.5 euro for a 100-minute ride. You can transfer between bus, metro, and tram during that time. You can buy tickets at metro stations or newsstands. However, the metro does not reach every tourist site. You will not find stops near places like the Pantheon or the Piazza Navona, so plan to walk some parts. Another way of transportation is the bus. Rome's buses and trams go all over the city and fill in the gaps where the metro doesn't go. You can use the Move It or Rome to Rio apps. They're super helpful to figure out routes in real time. Just remember to validate your tickets as soon as you board. Another thing is that buses can be slow, especially during rush hour. So if you plan to use the bus, a tip is to use the bus as early in the day as possible. They get really crowded from midday into the evening. If you're using public transport often, you have the option to get a transit pass. A Roma 24-hour pass is 70 euros and comes with unlimited travel for 24 hours. And the last option is to use a taxi. Taxis are available in Rome but are a little bit more pricey and hard to flag down sometimes. Official taxis are white with a taxi sign outside and have a meter inside. For example, a taxi from the Colosseum to the Vatican can be anywhere between 10 to 15 euros, depending on traffic. When I went to Rome, I used a taxi for my entire stay. My husband and I traveled with our 4-year-old, but we didn't want to go through the hassle of stairs, crowded areas in the metro. I honestly just wanted a comfortable experience for my family and myself. At first, I thought it was going to be a struggle to flag down a taxi every time we needed one, but honestly, I had no issues with them. We used a taxi app called It Taxi. It connects you to official city taxis and offers real-time tracking, fare estimates, and digital payments, which was exactly what we needed. There's another app called Free Now, which allows you to do the same, and it's also very popular in Rome. So if you have a little bit more budget for transportation, I highly just recommend to use a taxi because you will overall have a more comfortable experience than using the metro. That's just personal preference. Now let's go over the best things to do in Rome. The most obvious and popular one is the Colosseum, which is the heart of ancient Rome. So let's start with that one. When you book tickets to the Colosseum, you will have the option or will get tickets to the Roman Forum and the Palatine Hill, which were once the political and social center of the empire. It might sound like you can see all of these places in a few hours, but I promise you, you need to separate an entire day because it's going to take time. For us, just seeing the Colosseum, it took us about 4 hours. So just keep that in mind. Make sure to book your tickets in advance because the lines could get super long. And if you can, try to book a guided tour, especially one that covers the underground levels of the Colosseum. The second attraction is the Vatican Museums, the Sistine Chapel, and St. Peter's Basilica. You'll need a few hours for this, but it's a must-do. The Vatican Museums are massive, and at the end of the museum's path, there is the Sistine Chapel, which is even more impressive in person. St. Peter's Basilica is free to enter, but you'll still need to go through security, and there's a strict dress code. Shoulders and knees need to be covered. You can even climb the top of the dome to get the best views of Rome. The third must-see in Rome is the Pantheon. This is one of the best preserved buildings from ancient Rome. The dome is huge and there's actually a hole right in the center that lets sunlight or rain come through. It used to be free to enter, but now there's a small entrance fee. Number 4 is the Trevi Fountain. Of course you gotta see the Trevi Fountain, but here's my tip. Go early, and I mean super early. I'm talking about 6 a.m. in the morning. It's totally worth it for the peaceful views. Don't forget to toss a coin over the fountain with your right hand over your left shoulder. It's supposed to mean you'll return to Rome. Attraction number 5 is the Spanish Steps. This is another famous Roman spot and it's great for photos. Attraction number 6 is the Piazza Navona. This is one of the prettiest squares in Rome. It's full of street artists, fountains, and cute cafes. The fountain is in the center, called the Fountain of the Four Rivers. There are a lot more attractions to see in Rome, but I'm gonna have to save this for another video. These are the main attractions that I consider, in my opinion, have to be the best ones you must see when you go to Rome. Now let's go over how to find good places to eat. Listen, I'm not a local, but I can show you what I do to find good spots to eat in Rome. To me, food is one of the most important things about my trip, so this is definitely an important one. Restaurants near places like the Vatican, the Colosseum, all those popular attractions will be overpriced and the food will not be good. What I suggest you do is to walk 5 to 10 minutes away from those attractions to get a better chance to find a local, more authentic Roman place to eat. As a general rule, if they're showing laminated menus with photos and they have someone standing outside calling you, just keep walking. That's a tourist trap. You can use local apps like The Fork. It's like OpenTable but better for Italy. Includes reviews and booking options. Google Maps will be super helpful as well because you can read reviews in Italian and translate it with Google Translate to see where locals are actually eating. Another tip is to ask locals for recommendations. Your Airbnb host or even your tour guide can often give you great food recommendations. Just ask them. Okay, now let's go over tourist traps. Avoiding tourist traps in Rome can completely change your trip for the better, saving you money, time, and of course disappointment. So I'm gonna show you how to spot and avoid tourist traps. Number 1 is to avoid restaurants near major landmarks or attractions. Number 2 is to not fall for scams at gelato shops. Try to avoid places that have piled colored gelato. They're full of chemicals and they're low quality. Number 3 is to not buy souvenirs from street stalls near major attractions. Prices are inflated and quality is low. Instead, shop in local markets. Number 4 is to avoid overpriced taxis. Only use official white taxis that have a taxi sign and have a visible meter. At the airport, ignore people approaching you, offering you taxi rides. Go to the official taxi stand, and for safer options, you can use the taxi apps that we mentioned previously, like Eat Taxi or Free Now. And number 5, do not try to do everything in one day. Cramming too much into one day means you'll end up hitting only the most obvious tourist-packed spots. This all might have sound very overwhelming, but take your time and plan ahead. Rome is a beautiful city, and the best tip I can give you is to plan ahead. I suggest to give yourself 1 to 2 activities max per day. Walk the city. I promise you that just walking around Rome feels like an activity in itself. So if you're still in the planning stage, check out my most recent video where I share 10 things I wish I knew before visiting Rome. I'm sure it can help you better prepare for your upcoming trip to Rome. I'm gonna leave it on the screen so you can watch it next.